Hello, everyone, and welcome to the November PowerShell Community Call, where we discuss all things related to PowerShell and tend to its care and feeding. We have an action-packed agenda for this November meeting, so let's just dive right in. Oh, wait, Stephen, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah. I just wanted to come on here and wish PowerShell a happy birthday. It was the 15th anniversary this past Sunday. I'm very new to this community, but I've learned a lot being here and found out such amazing product PowerShell is and how community driven it is. So just wanted to say that and very excited for the next 15 years. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate that. Yeah, congratulations to the community and the entire PowerShell team, past and present, for all of your work. And basically, a tip of the hat to Jim Truer, who was here at the beginning and is with us today. But most important about the PowerShell 15th birthday, it's about the community. And I just want to say, for me, PowerShell didn't solve my problems. PowerShell enabled me to solve my problems. I mean, when you think about it, problems that either I couldn't solve or that would have incurred great costs to solve, PowerShell enabled those solutions. So in a way, PowerShell enabled me to better build my career with the solutions that it enabled. So I just kind of wanted to say happy birthday to all of us for working on PowerShell, for building PowerShell, especially to the community that has been so paramount in the building and shipping of PowerShell. It's not the only tool in my toolbox, but it's the one I always reach for. So to everyone, happy 15th PowerShell birthday. And like Stephen said, looking forward to the next 15 years. And with that, let's dive in. Did we decide if Michael was here or not, or what is our first agenda item? Oh, we're going to go to Steve for our first agenda item. So, Steve, just before we start talking about the great achievement of shipping PowerShell 7.2, and congratulations on that, Steve, you want to talk to us about what we're going to be chatting about in December, because this ship keeps floating and keeps moving downriver.
Yep. So before I get to that real quick, I just want to make sure, like, I don't know if Stephen actually had a chance before to properly introduce himself. Since I was on jury duty that
Ah,
in October. But if he did, then great. If not, then I'll just say, he's one of our newer PMs on the PowerShell team. I don't know, Stephen, if you did not, then I'll give you an opportunity now.
Sure.
Yeah, actually. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was caught up in a lot of training for the past couple of community calls that was taking up my Thursdays. So yeah, I guess I don't know if I ever did formally introduce myself, but I'm a new PM on the PowerShell team. Just straight out of college, coming onto Microsoft here. I joined late August, and so yeah, like I said, very excited to be on the team and excited to learn from everyone and interact with the community more as I go forward.
All right. So now let me
Thanks.
jump into December. So the key question here is whether or not we will have a December community call, because it is getting close to the holidays, and a lot of folks, at least on the U.S. side, start disappearing. Um, my thinking, so this would be, I think, on December 16th. I think would be the third Thursday, somewhere around there. So it is not the second half per se of December. So I will probably be around, but I don't know if we'll have enough community members or team members to really have anything to discuss. So that's the question. Um, I don't know. Does anyone else want to chime in a bit? I mean, there are some things that we know are coming in December.
Do we
In
want to
fact,
put a poll in the chat maybe and see if folks would plan
yeah,
on attending the December call?
that's a good idea. Why don't you post
that's good.
something and then see how many thumbs ups we get, and we can use that as a gauge.
Yeah, cool. I will post in the chat right now.
All right. So Sydney's gonna post something in the chat, and just give it a thumbs up if you, not because you want us to have it, but because you think you're gonna attend, and that will at least give us some data. All right. So let me move on to the next topic. So yes, we GA'd PowerShell 7.2 last month. And it is our most recent long-term support, which means that we'll support for 3 years. Again, we are aligned with .NET at this point, and it is shipping on .NET 6. There's a great effort from the team and the community to make that happen, and we are trying to stay lockstep with .NET going forward. Yeah, I don't know what else we need to say about that. I think, again, I had that blog post, highlighting some of the stuff. I believe Sean had already updated the what's new documentation. You can read to see it in more detail, some of the new capabilities and stuff like that. So please install it. Let us know if there's any issues. and then we can at least get those addressed if needed. Otherwise, we're going to continue to move forward to 7.3. So let me talk about 7.3 real quick here. I don't have a roadmap yet. We will be working on it probably sometime in December and January. So then I would expect that I'll have a blog post about it at the earliest. It'll probably be like late February, to be honest. And this is also where I see Elia had posted some things that he would like to see being invested in, like file system provider, new remoting subsystem. So here's what I will say: new remoting subsystem is something I'm committed to having implemented. That way, we can also support some more community folks like Jordan doing his awesome PSW span work. But file system provider is not necessarily something that's easy for me to commit to because it's just going to be really a large work item. It might be something that maybe we'll get started. Maybe community can help out, and we'll see. As an experimental feature and see how that goes. But it's not necessarily something I think the team itself will be funding. There's a bunch of other stuff which I won't talk about right now, but we'll get to hopefully early next year to talk about where the team is investing all up, not just in PowerShell, but also in other things related to PowerShell in OpenSSH. I think that is probably the main thing. So that leads into the next thing. Like one of the things that we are looking into investing in is getting PowerShell 7 into Windows. So that will be a big effort in the PowerShell 7.3 timeframe. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that we are investing resources to see what we can do to make it happen. I will have a RFC hopefully published about how we're going to approach this. I don't know if it's going to come in December or not, because again, people start disappearing. Probably January will make more sense to have that posted. But I'll just say, like, the two big challenges that we have of shipping PowerShell 7 in Windows is really two things. One is size. So, Windows PowerShell has the benefit that .NET Framework is part of Windows, so that doesn't count against Windows PowerShell. So if you look at it from that perspective, Windows PowerShell is pretty tiny. It also includes a bunch of modules that other teams own, so that doesn't count against it either. PowerShell 7 needs to ship .NET with it because .NET has no plans of shipping in Windows outside of .NET Framework. And so today, if you look at the PowerShell 7 install, PowerShell 7.2, I think it's somewhere around 200 megabytes on disk. So it's really large. And the reason it's large is we need to include a lot of assemblies, even if we don't use it ourselves, so that we have similar capabilities in terms of API coverage as .NET Framework, right? So to kind of get more closer to apples, we need to ship a lot of stuff like the WPF, WinForms, and all that stuff. So that means that it's huge. So that is one problem, is that we can't just ship a 200 megabyte shell in Windows. It would not, like, customers don't want it, and the Windows team will not allow it. So we are doing some work. You might have heard me talk about this before, the concept called minimal PowerShell. We're still evaluating that. And even if we don't get to where we need to get to, we still have opportunity to trim down some of the sizing and make things optional and installable and stuff like that. So we're still looking down that path. I don't know if, to be honest, based on the initial investigation, I don't think that by itself will solve the size problem. So then there's this other problem, which is support lifecycle, right? So again, .NET, dropping the core name, .NET only has up to a 3-year support lifecycle for an LTS release. Windows still has a 5+5, so basically 10 years. 10 is bigger than 3. That means that we can't ship a product based on .NET in Windows if we can't get the same type of support that Windows requires. Because basically, let's say that we ship .NET, so let's say 7, right? And they have .NET 7 won't be an LTS. Let's say we ship .NET 8 or even .NET 6. So the clock starts, and if .NET has let's say, a security issue, then they are going to fix it in a newer version of .NET and not an older one. And my team is not resourced to say we're not going to maintain our copy of .NET. It's just not feasible for 10 years, right? It doesn't make sense. So there are some ideas to work around these two problems. Again, I'll have an RFC published probably January timeframe so that you guys can provide some input to see whether or not this is going to solve those problems. All right, I feel like I've talked more than enough. Let me just look real quick if there's yes. So Keith asked a question about updates. That is one of the things that is covered in the RFC about how updates will be handled. So I'll look forward to your feedback on that. Okay. I think that's probably it, unless I see anything else. Otherwise, let's move on, and you can always add questions if there's more questions about this topic later that I can get around to.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. So, Sydney and Andy, understand you've been doing a lot of work on VS Code. What's an update on the VS Code extension?
Yeah, I can give a quick update and then pass things over to Andy. So last month we shipped a major update to our PowerShell preview extension for VS Code. And this update represented about a year's worth of architecture changes to really promote the stability and reliability of our extension. This Since this was a major update, we definitely expect that there are bugs and issues, and we're so thankful to the community members who have taken the time to try out this preview extension, give us feedback, and even provide us with PRs or contributions. So I would just encourage folks to continue with that. It helps us out so much. And then we hope to see this change come to stable and provide a really stable experience in the next few months. Andy, anything you want to add or emphasize?
Yeah, I just want to fill in. Thanks for the intro on it. I'm going to paste the link to the blog post that Sydney wrote for us actually about this preview extension that's currently out. So we immediately went out with a preview towards the end of October, which I'm very happy to say includes all of that pipeline work, as we had some questions around when that would get in, and our plan was end of October, and it happened. Some of the community members have really stepped up in helping me get this preview stabilized. There's still so much work to do. Don't let me lie. Like, it's probably not going to land in stable for, my guess is, a couple months. But Patrick Meineke and Justin Grote have just done some amazing work with me. We're getting a whole lot of things fixed. We got the profile bugs fixed pretty immediately. We're working through some debugger issues right now. But I just want to extend a huge thanks to them. They've been great kind of co-maintainers helping me out, especially with Rob having no more capacity to work on the extension with us. But yeah, so the preview's out. Please do give it a try. It's buggy. I have to say that it is one of the buggier previews because it is a large rewrite. In fact, like, we even went into it and realized, hey, we fixed that bug and it's back in the preview. It just kind of got missed when a big, very large branch got merged. But I'm very, very happy to say that some of the issues that we tagged as, hey, we hope that this gets fixed when we eventually get the pipeline work in, we went back and had tested, and people verified in the preview, yeah, those weird race conditions are gone, because now this whole thing just essentially has a queue that just runs things in order, and they're cancelable now. So we don't have all these issues where PowerShell's talking 5 different times in the extension. So it's fantastic. Just thanks to everyone for the work. Please be patient with us as we get this to stable. Like, one of the huge things on our plate is to re-enable all the tests that I've talked about for the last year. We had to turn them off when we changed the engine. Now I have to go turn them all back on a second time. But you know what? That's how we get from A to B. We'll get a much more quality and stable extension out here eventually, and I think you will all really like it. So I'll get that blog post posted into our chat. And just again, thanks to the community for testing and for working with me on this stuff.
Hey, thanks, Andy and Sydney. That was awesome. Amber, now you were telling us last month about doing a PowerShell gallery migration. You want to give us an update on that and how it went?
Yep, I can definitely do that. So this is just going to be a really quick update. The migration, which we've been working on for the last couple of months, is finally complete. And so this has been like a backlogged issue for us actually for a couple of years. And so we're really glad to get this completed. And this is going to allow us to kind of work on some other PowerShell gallery issues that have been in existence for a while now, especially like the statistics page. I know there's been consistent issues with that, especially in the last year. So some of these issues that we haven't really had like the time or bandwidth to address in the last X amount of months, we'll actually be able to get to now. So that's pretty exciting. And hopefully, other than that, everything's been a pretty smooth experience for users.
Oh, great. Well, that's
And that's all.
fantastic. Congratulations. Well, I'm going to take over for a second and just want to talk about how everybody can help the community. Boy, that's such a tired subject to talk about, because you hear us talk about it all the time and it seems like, yeah. But here's the thing. I want to remind everybody, about 15 years ago, Jeffrey Snover made the sacred vow, which was basically, if you put in the effort to really learn PowerShell so that you could be enabled to solve your problems, that Microsoft would put in the investment to keep PowerShell fresh, to make sure that PowerShell would allow you to be able to solve all of the new, the latest and greatest emerging technologies. Well, part of that sacred vow, though, is a responsibility with all of us, and that's to communicate. And many of you, especially on this call, have been crucial to that communication. And that's with the community and the PowerShell team so that we can build a better product to support everybody in solving their problems. Well, we're going to make continued efforts in trying to get everyone's perspective. See, I kind of think that we're not hearing everyone's perspective, and I want to make sure that we're very inclusive with PowerShell. So I'd like your help. Besides being on this call, you work with people that they don't communicate this way. They don't join the calls. They don't go to GitHub and file issues. They don't have conversations there. So if you could help us to reach out and let them know that we want to hear from them, and here's how. You can go to GitHub and file issues. And that's a great place to have a conversation, but we want to expand this conversation to people that don't use GitHub. We want to expand this conversation to IT ops. We want to expand it to DevOps and developers and in the communication that they prefer. So I want to talk to you. If you want to communicate through email, send an email. If you want to have a chat on the phone, let's have a chat on the phone. I want to talk about the challenges that you're facing in your work so that we can take a look at it with PowerShell. Also, just to let you know, you're going to be hearing more about this next year. Several of us are starting a new project that is based on finding feature teams and helping them to achieve PowerShell commandlets. And this is our search and rescue project, our PowerShell search and rescue. And you're going to hear more about this. And I'm going to be asking you for your help there to help us identify those teams that maybe have been building features that I'm unaware of, that we want to help them build PowerShell commandlets. I appreciate all of your help in encouraging teams to do that. So I look forward to the new year where we'll be communicating more and building the audience more so that we can help build a better PowerShell product. So yes, this is my call out to please open up the communication, bring more friends into the conversation. So thank you for that part. And with that, let me ask a quick question. Has Michael Green shown up by any chance before I move on? Or we can save him for the end if he hasn't.
I don't see him.
Okay, cool. Aditya, one of my favorite projects, the updatable help. You're going to give us an update on it.
As part of 7.2 GA, we missed updating the link that it points to when you do GitHub online, Get Help Online. It still points to 7.1 help content. That has already been fixed, and I just wanted to update that we'll be releasing that as part of the first servicing release for 7.2, which will be 7.2.1. We don't have a date for that yet, but we'll make sure that we have that patched in the next release.
Thanks, Aditya. The world's a messy place, and I make mistakes too. As hard as we work on helping everyone to update their help documentation, sometimes even we make mistakes and slip through the cracks, but we got it fixed. So we expect to see that out soon. Also, we've had some improvements around PS Script Analyzer in the docs there. Sean, you want to talk to us about Script Analyzer?
Sure. So I just want to remind everybody that we've started the process of publishing the documentation for Script Analyzer to the docs site. And we're working on moving everything that's product documentation out of the source code repo and into the docs platform. That's generally how we organize all of our documentation. The source repo documentation should document how to use the source code, build the source code, things like that. So we're in this process now of moving that content to the docs platform. So you'll see, if you're used to going to find the docs in the GitHub repo, you'll see things moving around a little bit, and just know that you can find it on the docs platform now. I put a link in the chat, and we love to get feedback there as well. So
Yeah, and I just want to point out, and thanks, Sean, that Sean's also updated several docs, as he mentioned, but one of them is also all of the installation docs and the supported operating systems, a much better style. We think it's a lot easier for people to read and find the information that they're looking for. So thank you, Sean, and please give us feedback if we can improve those. Also, we want to talk a little bit about PS Readline. Now, PS Readline is an integral part of PowerShell and provides the UI that most of us are accustomed to seeing when we're operating in the terminal and working with PowerShell. Features like predictive IntelliSense is a great example of some of the things being presented. And my friend Dongbo, you were going to give us an update on PS Readline 2.2.
Yeah, a quick update. So we are targeting having 2.2 PS Readline GA in January, maybe end of January. And so currently it's still working on the stability of the PS Readline, like trying to fix more issues that cause exceptions you see in like some of the reports of the issues in PS Readline repo. Speaking of the stability, I want to mention that after 7.2, PowerShell 7.2 G8, we see a lot of reports about the crashing exception when starting up when starting up PowerShell 7.2. It's because of the the user is still using a 2.2 beta 1 or 2.2 beta 2 version of the PS Readline along with the PowerShell 7.2. So I want to explain a little bit why this happened. So back in the PowerShell 7.2 preview 6, we made a breaking change. Well, it's a breaking change compared to previous preview versions. So we made a breaking change to the Predictive IntelliSense API per the request from our internal partner. So by that time, the PS Readline 2.2 already have the beta 1 and beta 2 version out, which depends on the old interface. So after making that breaking change in PowerShell engine, the beta 1, beta 2, 2.2 beta 1, beta 2 PS Readline become incompatible with the newer 7.2 previews. And we get a load of reports about this crash by that time, but it turns out some people are still using the beta 1, beta 2 version of the 2.2 beta 1, beta 2 version of the PS Readline, but they didn't update to a new version of the PowerShell preview. So now when they update to PowerShell 7.2, they run into the same issue. So I just want to explain this to you, and we want you to know that we already have a GitHub action enabled in the PS Readline repository, which will be triggered when a new issue is opened. And you're gonna scan the issue and try to pre-triage it. If you see that it's the same issue, you're gonna reply to the issue with a solution and close it immediately. So in case anyone run into this, if you know already, you can just take a look at the PS repository and look at one of the most recent closed issue and find a solution. Or when you are opening one, you will get the reply from the GitHub bot immediately with the solution. So yeah, that's it.
Hey, thanks, Dongbo. And yeah, let me just to kind of reiterate. So if you go to the issues, you'll see the instructions that Dongbo has on how to fix this issue. Essentially, it's basically from some other shell, just replacing PS Readline with the new version of PS Readline, so that you don't run into this problem, and then you can start PowerShell normally, and it works just fine. So it's a pretty easy fix. Apologize for the confusion, but essentially, whether you go out to look at the issues, you'll see the fix out there, or if you've already kind of experienced this, you probably realize that you can update the module outside of PowerShell and get yourself back working again. So thanks, Dongbo. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. One more thing, if you can, please update. One more thing, if you can, please update to the 2.2 beta 4 version, which is the most recent version. So try out all the fixes in it and let us know if you run into an issue.
Was that to me? Because I think I'm still running on beta 3. So I think you were just talking to me.
Yeah.
For me to go out and do it. Yeah, thanks, man. So before we get to the Q&A, and Sydney, I'm going to need your help reading some of those questions. But before we hit the Q&A, I just want to take a moment and let you all know that we it gives me great pleasure to let you all know that we have a new lead PM on the PowerShell team. And if you haven't heard, it's someone that you probably all know very well. He's been hardcore PowerShell for over a decade in the field and running a great team here at Microsoft, the DSE and guest config team. So we are very fortunate to have Michael Green join the team as lead PM. We're really looking forward to working with him and his experience and his very customer-driven solutions and outreach. So if Michael's on the call, I'd love for him to say a few words, but if he's not, just want to let everybody know we're very excited to have Michael Green join us. So thanks, Michael, and we're looking forward to next year. And
yeah, I tried to ping him, but I don't see him, so he must have something else going on, unfortunately, right now.
okay, well, we'll just talk about him, behind his back. Anyways, so everyone, so let's go ahead and dive into some questions. Sydney, what do we got going on here?
Yeah, so I'm just looking through the questions in the chat here or in the GitHub issue, trying to monitor both of them. Let's see. Some of them have already been answered in the chat, but here's a question: will PS Readline 2.2 be compatible with Windows PowerShell?
Oh, yeah, and Dongo, if you want to jump on and talk about this, one of the interesting things that we've done with PS Readline, and I wonder if the question itself is kind of relating to predictive intelligence on this, but yes, PS Readline is backward compatible to Windows PowerShell 5.1. And if you're looking for features such as predictive intelligence, those features like predictive intelligence and historical suggestions that come from it will be available to you on Windows PowerShell 5.1. But keep in mind that some features that you may be interested in, such as additional predictors, for example, like the AZ Tools predictor, those will not be available on Windows PowerShell 5.1. Those required us to make some changes in PowerShell that you must be running on PowerShell. And here's where I might get it wrong. Is it 7.1 plus, Dongbo, or is it actually 7.2 plus and above?
It's 7.2 plus because of the interface change.
Great. Next question.
Alrighty. Let's see. Looking in the chat, okay. Here's a question. Any updates on PowerShell Get or OpenSSH? I can start with the PowerShell Get, and then any of the other folks on the PowerShell Get project can kind of chime in. Yeah, so we're continuing to make progress on PowerShell Get 3.0. We had our preview 11 release a couple of months ago, and we're fast at work on the preview 12 release. If you're curious specifically what issues we are planning to resolve in that 12.0 release, the preview 12 release, it is organized into a GitHub project that I can get here in the chat. But the short answer is that we are getting close to completing the entirety of the commandlet interface, and that's really a goal for us with the preview 12. We hope to have that out in December, but as you know, with the holidays, could always end up getting into January. But we're still working hard on PowerShell Get, and definitely check out the repo if you're curious about really specifics of when issues might land in various previews.
Cool. One of the things that I want to point out is there's an issue in the GitHub repo issue. There was a question from Warren regarding predictions and cleaning up your history. In other words, I assume that some of you that have started using predictions have noticed that maybe if you type something wrong into your history, that now pops up as a prediction, and that might be something that you want to clean up. And while we don't have specific cleanup tools, Dongo did a great job in the issue of answering that and basically giving you some ideas on both how to clean that up and some ideas on how to validate what goes into history, so that maybe you're not getting as much garbage in there in the first place. And yes, this is something that irritates me as I'm working with it, and so I'm sure that we'll all be thinking more about this as well. So thanks for commenting on that.
Yeah, awesome. Is that Danny with the
Yeah, I'll
OpenSSH
jump into the
update?
OpenSSH
Okay, cool.
one.
I was just
That's it.
gonna see if you were
Oh,
on the call.
sorry, did I cut you off, Danny? Oh, I apologize.
No worries. Yeah, so we've been hard at work on a few different things kind of in the, I'd say, SSH portfolio. There's nothing I can share, I'd say, today, but I'd say we've probably got the most people working on SSH than we've had in a while. And so look for multiple updates in the new year.
Outstanding. Thank you, Danny. And again, sorry to step on top of you. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm looking for some more questions that we can answer.
Yes. Not seeing
Michael
any more
Lombardi,
questions.
Why
yeah,
don't we,
so
I can go over some of Michael's Lombardi's questions. He puts it on the
that's
RFC
where I was
site.
going. That'd be great, Steve.
I'm just gonna maybe quickly go through some of these. And then while I'm doing that, maybe Cindy can see if there's other questions, because there's also just a lot of discussion in the RFC side. So the first question about the steering committees. So I don't have any major updates here. So Michael will be joining the committee, and then he'll also be joining probably the commandlet working group. I do have an ask for folks here. Like I've been thinking about, I think we need more community folks in the working groups to kind of help the folks who are already there, either from the team or from the community. And rather than us continuing to kind of select folks, if anyone is interested, why don't you contact us, myself, maybe Jason, and then we can figure out if it's going to be a good fit and all those things. So no major update there, but I do encourage folks to kind of who have. So again, it is a commitment. So you're spending probably maybe an hour or two a week kind of helping to triage those issues, but you are empowered to help make those decisions. General
And if
roadmap
folks
for,
do want to contact you or Jason, what's the best way to go about that?
That's a good. Maybe we should do. I wonder if we should do it this way. Maybe we should just open up an issue in the RFC repo and have people post there, and then we'll figure out how to do the communication.
Yeah,
Let's start with that and see how that works. Okay, so put an action item on me to create that issue, and then we'll publicize it on Twitter and whatever.
Sounds good.
Okay, we already talked about the 7.3 roadmap, so nothing to share at this point. Future for providers. All right, so providers is a problem that how should I put it? All right, so providers today is complicated, and Ships is one of the modules that helps simplify that. But Ships only really supports PowerShell script providers and not C#, and it's hard for anyone to really. It's complex to write a C# provider. So what I'll say is, it is not something that we've forgotten about. I don't know. It's unlikely to show up as part of 7.3, but it is something on top of my mind. It's one of the reasons I also hesitate. I know Ilya wants to redo the file system provider, and he could do it with the current infrastructure that we have for providers. But we could also do it in some future time when we actually have time to update the provider API model to simplify it. So again, I don't know when that will happen. Gallery improvements roadmap. I think we'll have probably more to talk about that next calendar year. Classes, language feature prioritization. So again, Jeffrey, the one of the phrase Jeffrey says, I don't know if he coined it, but he says that I really believe it's to ship is to choose. So we do have to be selective on areas that we invest in. Classes and language features is probably not, again, something that is high on our priority list to invest. I'll be honest, just to at a high level, a lot of stuff I think in my mind for 7.3 is more about completeness and not in the sense completeness of classes. That is something that's on top of mind, but not necessarily adding new features, right? There's a bunch of other work that we have to do, if we want to get it into Windows. There's a bunch of work we have to do that may not be obvious to customers, but it needs to be done. It's just there was a ton of work that had to happen for the Microsoft Update support that is internal. It's not open source, that side, that you don't see, but there's a lot of work that happened. Travis did a lot of that work. So there's gonna be a lot of similar stuff that we have to do for trying to get ourselves into Windows. So that itself is probably gonna be the priority. Let's see, okay, so we talked about the community side. So I think that covers that one, and I will hand it back to Sydney if she saw any good question.
Actually, Sydney, I ran across a question in the chat that I think I can answer, and then if you have something. There's a question in the chat that says, is there any documentation on creating custom predictors? Dongbo, correct me in case some of this has changed, but let me go ahead and answer this. Not yet. It's something that we're going to start working on. First of all, let me just let you know that there are, to register a predictor into PowerShell, it's actually a very simple process. There's an on import and an on remove method. But the challenge for a lot of people in writing a predictor is that currently it's not written in PowerShell. It's currently written in C#. And we haven't put together any documentation on that. We wanted to do some more experimentation and work and then put some documentation together on it. Dongbo, has anything changed in that? Does that sound pretty accurate still?
Yes, that's correct. We're going to I'm going to work on some sample, one or two sample predictor plugins, and then publish those sample codes as part of the documentation.
Fantastic. So thanks, Thomas, for that question. Sydney, what you got?
Yeah, I am not seeing any more questions in the chat or in the GitHub issue, but definitely want to give folks another opportunity in case there's something maybe that you did post that hasn't gotten answered. If you could please post it again, that would be awesome.
So let's give everybody a couple of minutes
for sure.
Questions. We've got 20 minutes left, folks, and we're in no rush. So if there's some questions that you have that you want to talk about. Also, I'll take this time. I hope you all enjoyed Microsoft Ignite. That was a lot of fun. If you had a chance to even come to our, I don't know what we called that thing, the interview call where we could all join.
Ask the Experts?
I hope that was, the Ask the Experts thing. Yeah, I hope that was enjoyable and that there was some useful information there. Boy, it was sure great to see some of the folks like Jeff Hicks and Mike and stuff like that.
So I do see some discussion about DSC in classes. So here's what I would say. For those who aren't aware, like classes really started as focused on DSC, right? So this happened in the Windows PowerShell 5.1 timeframe. So from the perspective of the team, I mean, it is quote unquote complete for the purposes of writing a DSC resource. Now you could argue about some edge stuff, but it works. And so I think a lot of the ask from the community has been, hey, can you now do more work in the classes area so you can use it as a general purpose thing and not have it so finely scoped to DSC. And that's the part where I'm saying is currently that itself, although I feel the pain as well, it's not a priority at this point. I think we'll probably have more to talk about DSC v3 next year as well.
Yeah, and I just want to throw in on DSC v3. Those of you that are taking a look at it and working with it, talk to me about it. And if you're running into issues with classes, definitely talk to me about it. However, I do want to kind of, from my own experience, just kind of say that, classes were originally developed in PowerShell for this purpose of DSC resources. They do work really well. We've been using them for years this way. So yeah, talk to us about it and see what improvements we can do in that. And as far as scaling it out beyond DSC resources, I mean, we're always open to the conversation. It's just not prioritized at the moment. Some good scenarios and needs, would help that. But Sydney, what you got?
Oh, looks like a question. I think Steve just replied in chat, but we can ask it out loud anyways. Do you think you will tackle the no logo, simplified logo, no copyright by default issue in 7.3?
I need a reminder because I was involved in some of this discussion on the issue, and to be honest, that was a while back, and I just don't remember where exactly that ended up. And I know that it kind of blew up a bit because it started up on Twitter, I think, and got a lot of publicity because Emo, who has a lot more followers than I do, I believe, started this thing. So I don't know if, I have to remember like what the issues were. It's not obvious. It's not always so obvious what the right thing is from our point of view. So
yeah, and I'll send you a reminder or an action item on that, Steve. About it was talking to Sia about the
Burgmeister. Yeah. And by the way, Chris, congratulations on your wedding That's pretty amazing.
Oh,
Oh
thank
yeah,
you.
that is.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have.
Anyways, I will.
something.
Yeah. Last time I commented on this was like June-ish, so I'll get back this. Yeah, I'll have to look through this to see if it's something if it's something we can do and what we should do. So. All right. Anything else?
Anybody have anything else? All right.
Well, let me say one more thing. Like, I respect Emo a lot. However, just because he brings up something doesn't mean that we're gonna jump on it. So.
The other thing is that there's, and a lot of you folks know this, and on that particular issue, there's a lot of us that switch between many different shells, and having a small prompt that tells us which shell that we've just switched into is actually necessary or needed. So make sure you get your opinions into that issue though. But yeah, agreed. So let me throw open hands to anybody on the team and in there if we have anything else that anybody would like to discuss, because if not, we're going to wrap this show.
Did we have any demos?
We did not have any demos. So with that, let's go ahead and give everybody a little bit of time back, 15 minutes back. Again, happy birthday to you, all of you, and thank you so much for all of the work and your interest and your help in PowerShell. Thanks to the PowerShell team, both past and present, for all of their happy birthday to everyone. And go out there and solve some problems with PowerShell. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending the November PowerShell community call. And we currently look forward to seeing you in December around the holidays to talk about 7.3 and all things good going forward with PowerShell. So have a wonderful month, be safe, and take care. Thank you all.